So big surprise happened today. At least it was a surprise to me because of the data that I was looking at through the week with respect to especially payrolls, the and jobs and all those reports that were coming out. It seemed pretty reasonable, but we're going to have some stability. But then also we're finding out there's companies laying off. I've actually heard of some mortgage companies, big companies doing monster layoffs. So just goes to show there's just not there's some weakness out there, and that's probably something to lead towards trying to push to have the Fed do some cutting. So it is Friday, the 5th of September, and something I want to show you guys, which is very, very interesting. This big swing here. So take a look at what I've got here. So you've got the ADP employment information coming out, pretty steady, other than it is lower than the previous month. So that right there, say the forecast was actual, but from the previous months, that's a pretty big difference in there. You start looking at initial jobless claims, they look pretty much the same as what they were previous month. Then you start looking at the continuing claims, they look pretty consistent, right? So nothing really leading me to think that we're going to have some sort of major difference. When you get today, look, as we jump into today, non-farm payrolls, the Bureau of Labor Statistics data, that an anticipation of 63,000 new jobs is 22,000, right? So now you have the non-farm payroll 75,000 down to 38,000. That's a monster swing, and we're also seeing some revisions. The revision prior was from 83 down to 77. That's a pretty good, pretty heavy down revision. But what's also interesting is the non-farm payrolls themselves had a revised revision up on the prior, but then this massive downward on that. So what does that mean? What does that do to us? Why would we care so much about the non-farm payrolls? Well, that's because it has an effect. When you're talking about jobs, that's talking about what's happening in the economy. That's saying the strength of the economy is jobs, right? People working, people generating revenue, people having the income to pay for shit. That's mainly what we're looking at. And if jobs are getting weak, that means companies are getting weak. And if companies are getting weak, money's going to move out of stock more than likely, right? That at least is indicative of what's going to happen in the economy. Therefore, weakness in the economy means you want to get out of certain things and move into other things, flight to safety. Well, that so-called flight to safety is going to bonds. It's a long-term instrument. You put your money in there, you know exactly what you're going to make for the foreseeable future. If you put your money into stocks and it's volatile, and you can lose money rapidly. You can make money rapidly. But bonds, it's just a rapid increase in revenue, even though it's not sexy. Bonds at their current level are not a big money maker for anybody because we're talking about reaching into coupons that are going to go lower. The lower the coupon, the lower the return. That's ultimately what we're going to get here. So let's take a look at how that affected bonds, which is a really, really big, interesting thing to me. So we already had, what was happening this week with respect to ADP and all that stuff. We had to jump up into the territory that usually pushes it off, which is it did, right? Pushed it off, held it off. Then we get to yesterday, it pushes up today. Because that non-farm, the Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers coming out, look at how it rammed it up here. Now, I know you're like, hey, Aaron, this, you've been saying that this block is pretty powerful. It is, but look, every time it gets here, it gets to the top and pulls back too. So I'm finding something also interesting as I zoom back here for us to take a look at this. And I'm going to bring this all together and maybe stretch it just a little bit more so we can see this together. So take a look. When we're looking at this here, when we came down in 2022, I believe it was, I got to move this around so I can see dates a little bit better, see information better. So you get down here at October of 2022. We bottomed out in October 2022, right here. Then we came up, hit through this, get to the top of this. It doesn't have a whole lot of strength to get above this level, which was the date that they announced quantitative easing, right? Comes back down, works its way out, tries it again. And so after this run of trying to break above it, it does a major, major decline. So you can see the decline that it took all the way down. Oh, geez, I'm going to have to really, really squeeze this. All the way down to October 2023. So literally a 1-year swing of all this downward, right? Then it takes another run. Now, what's interesting about this October 2023 run has a lot to do with the payroll numbers that were being reported. This is saying they're strengthening the economy, we're getting jobs back, or growing jobs. They're pounding Biden's chest about how much a badass he was, is bringing jobs into the economy. We're doing awesome. And in reality, it was just people going back to work after COVID. That was discovered, and bam, it went ramming back up. That the jobs were not as good as they said it was. So the economy is not as strong as it was because the economy wasn't so damn strong. Money left and went right back into bonds. And look what it did, fired right up into this point. So first run into it after going through it, we go above it and into the upper level of this block, if you will, right? Then it couldn't get above it, comes all the way down, rams off of the bottom, hits here, and just gets stifled right there. Three hard tries at, actually 4 hard tries at it, and we got stifled. Came back down in April, so that was a pretty good run. That was a 5-month run, and then started to take another run at it, and we're able to blow through it. And we talked about this day a long time ago. What happens? Like, what happened there? It rammed up and then rammed right back down. Took a run at it, came back down. So we have first run at it, goes above to the top. Second run hits the bottom. Third run, so every other run goes to the top and runs back down. Then we have another run, it goes to the bottom and runs down. Now it's running to the top again. So it's every other one. We're at a run at the top. Now, this is a guess. So since we're at a run at the top, I think if we might match what has happened in the past, price action being our question here, we're going to make a run for the top like we did. Might take 2 hits. Then we get a hit here, maybe another hit, and then we pull off of it. And we go back down. We might have another run at the bottom in the future. So let's just say we take that hit in the next few days. We pull back down. We get it again probably in November, end of October. Come back down. Now, this is just all guessing, guys. Comes down, and we may see it take another run at the bottom, somewhere in the range of about April. That's my guess at this point. I could be freaking off completely, but that's what I'm wondering, just based upon price action, what we're looking at. So we're looking at a quick blip in here. We're pulling some lock triggers, making sure those who are locked are secured, because we've been at this upper level for a bit now. There may not be a lot of price give up right here because they know it could reverse pretty quickly. So there's really not a lot of price movement as a result of that. Little small incremental price movement, but not a ton, because this is fickle market. And what do we have here? We have non-farm payrolls coming out. That's kind of in. I don't know if these are true facts and figures. I know there's a little bit of argument out there as to whether or not these are real, because we've got pressure for things to be done one way or another for the sake of political purposes. So I can't speak to how this is really shaken out, but that's just what I see. I'm just trying to analyze it for you the best I can. One thing about you guys, real estate investment still is a phenomenal place to be. We know what the plan is here. The planning to try and keep you from doing that. Get what you can while you can. Get it for as long as you can. Control it for as long as you possibly can. If you want to know ways to do it, utilize your entities, your trust, your holding company, LLCs in the states you're buying the real estate. Get 30-year fixes on that. You want to know how to do that? I'll help you. We will consult with you. You don't have to pay us for consulting. We just do loans to get paid, but we consult and help you do what we've seen other people be very successful doing and what I do myself for my family. Thank you, and we will talk to you guys on Tuesday.